In today's episode, we are talking about how to have the ultimate marketing strategy for your business, and I guarantee you it's not going to be what you're thinking.
NextWaveDV is the story of our journey growing Creative Edge Productions from a tiny studio in my basement to one of the leading video marketing agencies in the Midwest. So join us on our continuing mission of mastering video marketing.
Welcome back to the Mastering Video Marketing Podcast. I'm Tony Reale.
And I am Ben Carlson.
That is right. We're on episode 2 of season 2.
Season 2 episode.
It's feeling good. I'm loving the new format.
I love the new digs.
Yes.
It just makes it so easy to have a place that we can set up and just come and hey, we have an idea. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, if you're just audio only and you're enjoying the new intro, awesome. But if you want to, definitely check out our new studio. We're really proud of the hard work that we put into this. Yeah. So check it out on our YouTube channel. But today we're going to talk about, you've probably noticed the title that it's a big, bold title.
It is. It's a big claim.
The ultimate 2024 marketing strategy.
Yeah, as the algorithms are changing, as platforms are changing, we have to evolve with it too. And I think that this number one key strategy is what's going to make a difference.
Exactly. And I think that for some, it may come as a surprise. It may come as like an oversimplification. But as you listen to this episode, you're going to see why it's more of a philosophy than a hack. But it has been the most important thing that we have done in our business. Certainly the most important thing that we've incorporated into our marketing strategies for our clients.
Right.
But if you're not incorporating this, then I think you're just fundamentally approaching marketing the wrong way.
Yeah.
And we were talking before we rolled that there's a story that I shared from when I was a kid in grade school, and we had this science project where we got it together in teams. You probably remember some of those of you that you had your team project where the goal was we were given a sheet of like a manila folder, so just a piece of cardstock and a little tiny boat, and we had to turn that manila folder into some shape of a sail. And in order to, then the goal was whoever could get it the furthest or the fastest, there was like a race that we were going to have and get it to the end. And I was looking around the room and everybody was cutting into triangles and circles and all these different shapes. And I looked at the teacher and I said, does the shape need to be two-dimensional? And he looked at me with a confused look and he's like, what do you mean? I said, well, does it need to be two-dimensional? He's like, no, you can do whatever you want. So I cut a slit in it and turned it into a slight cone.
Nice.
And nobody else was doing this. Yeah. Everybody was flat, perfectly flat in their design. And I'm like, no, we're going to win. We're going to, because obviously I was trapping the air better and able to do it better. Yeah. So I'm excited. I'm like, this, I had the best idea. And we go to the finals for it. Everybody puts their boats together, and I had worked on the design. So one of our other team members was actually executing like a bellows that we had to blow the thing.
Sounds like a fun project.
We get to the race and we go it. And I swear to you that our teammate could not hit the sail to save his life.
Oh no!
He was just all over the place, and so we didn't win.
Wow.
And I was so disappointed because as a kid, I think I was like 10 maybe or whatever like that. Yeah. And I'm just like, we had the better idea.
Clearly the best idea out there, yeah.
And so for years, I just sat with that story in the back of my mind going, what's the lesson? Yeah. And, is there a lesson in this?
Sure.
And it wasn't until really decades later that I realized that the lesson is your idea doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Your idea does not matter. That is not the most important part. How good your idea is, the originality of your idea, whether other people are doing that idea or not.
Trendsetter.
It is all about the execution.
That's good.
And again, maybe you're like getting ready to tune away and you think that this is going to be oversimplification, but we're going to talk about how we incorporate this and why this is so important, because how you do your execution, we're gonna list off different things of how we do our execution, but that's so much more important than the idea.
Correct.
And I think a lot of people get hung up on what is the next big idea. Yeah. What is the next big thing? What's the cleverest ad that we can come up with? Yeah. What is the what's the how fancy can it be? What's the new motion control this and virtual production that? And I love all the tools. Sure. I love them. But, we talked about in the last episode how a lot of times, some of these agencies or production companies or whatever will win awards for a clever idea, but it didn't actually move the needle for the company. There wasn't increased revenue. There wasn't...
No leads coming in.
Yeah. And so I don't care how good the idea was, that didn't get the result.
It wasn't effective.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly.
There was no win in the sales.
Exactly.
Oh, full circle.
Tying it all in. So let's talk about that execution. Because that's how we have transitioned our Creative Edge Productions from being the video production company into a video marketing agency, because it was all about execution. Because we can make pretty videos all day long.
Sure.
But if our clients weren't using those and executing them in good, effective strategies, then the video is just useless to them.
Right.
And so we realized we needed to get better at those ourselves, which was a new thing for us. It was a new challenge. We did marketing. You got to do marketing to do video production.
Right.
But we didn't pour over it.
Yeah.
Like I love the latest camera gear. I love dynamic range and f-stops and gimbals and Komodo this and Red that and Sony. I love all the tech, and I'll geek out over it and read the reviews and the blog posts and all that kind of stuff. But I had to also transition myself into, all right, now I need to learn about, how to use SEO and how to do ad platforms and the differences between the ad platforms, and the type of content that works best on this platform doesn't always work best on that platform.
Right.
And so we both had to kind of divide and conquer, and we spent the past few years just re-educating ourselves into, so that, again, I love the tools and the gear, and I still love playing with them.
Yeah.
I get a new piece of gear in and we geek out about it together.
just happened today. Yep.
Exactly, yeah.
New lens, yes.
But at the end of the day, like what we're actually now focusing our energy on and our competency on is how we do that level of execution for our customers.
Sure.
And for us, it's been the difference between, like, post-COVID, it got really close to whether we were going to have to shut down the doors for Creative Edge, because the model was not as beneficial to our clients.
Right.
And they were having to cut their costs, and we were a cost.
Right.
In the new model, in being able to build all these strategies, we're now an asset.
Right.
And now for them to cut us out would directly affect their revenue.
Yeah.
So we've really created a huge level of value to our clients, and it's so important. So, okay, we've been talking all about this.
Yep.
Let's talk about execution.
Well, so what are you seeing, as you're going into these businesses, what are you seeing them focusing on? Because they're clearly...
Well, let's just say this. Most of them aren't focused.
Oh, okay.
So that's the first thing, is that they aren't focusing on anything. They're focusing either on everything or nothing.
Sure.
And so we talk about marketing strategy. We use the word strategy a lot, and it may be overused term, but like if you just stop and say, okay, is this strategic? Are we developing a strategy? Your title for Creative Edge is Director of Client Strategy.
Right.
I've transitioned to the role of creative director as we've reshuffled the roles in our company.
Yeah.
But we realized, like, we need a dedicated role as a director of client strategy.
Yep.
And so, you're the one to ask more so with that, because you're the one that goes through and dissects. When you basically pull back, do the uncovery process, and go, all right, let's get in there. Let's get, rip out the mold. Let's rip out all the bad stuff that's happening, and then now go in and develop a very stable, strong foundation to your core strategy. And that foundation will then dictate, okay, how much weight can we put on there? What is going to support it? Because if it's a flimsy foundation, from a strategy standpoint, you try to then add all these things, and it collapses because, like, your email marketing is not supporting the campaign.
Yeah.
Your sales team doesn't have the assets and tools necessary to then support the marketing. So you get the lead, but then you can't close
do anything with it. Yeah. Yeah.
So let me ask you, what are you finding? Because you're also interacting with that a lot.
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the head, where it falls into one of maybe three camps, where you either have the company that's focusing on everything. It's like, oh, we have to do video marketing, we have to be on TikTok, we have to be Instagram, and they dilute themselves so much that they don't have a clear focus and a clear direction forward. Or the other way that you've seen it, it's people that are almost frozen, where they're at a standstill and they're saying, I know I need to be doing something, I don't know what. And so they're stuck just kind of deer in the headlights saying, I don't, Facebook. And you find a lot of those clients will just start grasping at straws. Like, well, will this work? I don't know. Will this work? Will this? And the third camp are the people that I think, they have the best intentions, and they're following strategies that may be outdated and misguided, because that's what worked 10 years ago. And part of this podcast, we will be talking about other strategies. We will be talking about how their algorithms are changing. But from the get-go, if you don't have a clear direction and a clear point of where you're stepping out into, it doesn't matter how great that idea is, you won't be able to execute it efficiently.
And I think another important thing that a lot of businesses don't realize is the long-term focus that they need to have with any sort of strategy. Because a lot of times they'll do a podcast, they'll do a YouTube video, they'll do some shorts, they'll upload it, and then 2 weeks later they're like, well, I didn't get any business from it. Or they did just a couple, and then maybe even 6 months later, they're like, well, this never did anything, and so we never got traction and whatever.
Yeah.
Obviously, I mean, preaching the choir, but that's not going to work.
Yeah.
You have to have a consistency to it, because even with a podcast, we started our podcast, and we've done podcasts off and on NextWaveDV here and there, but we finally said we're going to be committed. We're going to keep cranking out a podcast.
Be intentional.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we did it in our first year. We saw a significant growth from our first episode to later episodes.
Thank you, by the way.
Absolutely. And it's, again, it's because you guys are watching it, and we're trying to pour as much value into the content. That's why we're updating our format. We put thousands of dollars into this new studio. Yeah. We're transitioning to a tighter format. You'll notice this episode and the last episode are shorter than our previous one, so that we can really focus on a topic and then jump to the next one. But we're also increasing our frequency. We're going from bi-weekly to weekly. And so we can then cover more topics. We can create more content that more people can come across. And they, with more videos out there, has a higher likelihood that they're going to find something that they resonate with, that answers a question that they have. And so that gives us a challenge. Now we got to be constantly doing it. If we're going to be creating this much content and we have the commitment to be putting this much value into it, then we also need to be absorbing more information. Right. We need to be researching it, learning more, experimenting more, testing, talking about our successes and our failures. And so, that execution that we talk about, the first aspect of it has to do just fundamentally with commitment and frequency.
Yeah.
So, if you're executing and you're like, I uploaded a couple videos and nothing happened, there's your first problem.
Right.
It's not as simple as just doing it a couple times.
Yeah.
Consistency and frequency are the most important thing in this type of marketing. And also understand that your first is going to be your worst. Your first content is going to be bad. You're going to get better.
That's okay.
Yes. That doesn't mean get rid of it. Doesn't mean delete it.
Yeah.
There's also legitimacy. If a podcast has 100 episodes versus a podcast that has 5, okay, maybe this podcast has been around for a while. I feel, let even your old content, even if it's not the level. I mean, we leave our old. You know, the story of NextWaveDV is how we went from this tiny little studio in my old basement and grew into a production studio and an agency and all this kind of stuff. That story is still out there. If you want to watch our old content, it's rough, but I leave it there because today our content's much more polished. Yeah. I'm better on camera than I used to be. I'm more comfortable and I know more stuff, so I can share more things. And so I put it there, I leave it there as I want you guys to be able to see the growth that we've come through and the benefits that we've come out of it.
And the same thing to you and your customers, it is okay that they can see that you're human. That is going to be what's attractive to them. We talk about trends. That's one of the biggest trends that I've seen coming into 2024 is people want the behind the scenes. They want to look into who you are as a brand, as a company, as a person. And we had this discussion with a client earlier this week where I don't want to just tell that I had a breakfast burrito. Agreed. This isn't like old school Facebook where it's Ben is feeling happy that I get to. No, again, it has to be value driven. So if you want to talk about your breakfast burrito, talk about the 5 best breakfast burritos in the city. Does that have anything to do with what you're doing? Maybe not. And maybe that might not be the direction for you. But the point is that you're being intentional with showing yourself as vulnerable and as rough as it may be when you're starting out. But that's what's going to attract people to your content.
Yep. So we talked about frequency and consistency. Number 2, I would say is, again, we use this word a lot, but value. Is the content that I'm producing valuable? Is it something that I would want to watch? Would it have any interest to me? So if you're just putting out junk, and that's like just cranking out stuff. Obviously, that's not going to be good for your audience.
Yeah,
they can tell. People are not obligated to sit through your content. So, if you're not providing entertaining and valuable educational content, whatever you're trying to go, if the content is not valuable for them to consume, it's a waste of data.
We say you have to pay for their next second of attention with what you're doing right now. So if you're not holding their attention, if you're not providing value right now, you don't get to expect their next second of attention or the second after that.
Exactly. So, you want to be, what's the thing that you should be obsessing about? Not the next trend, not the next social media platform, not the next, or it should be carousels versus reels versus stories. Valuable. Is the content valuable for me to consume? And what does value mean? It's not, okay, I have to be the most educational platform. I have to be, no, is it, because it can be entertaining. And entertaining doesn't have to be like, a SNL sketch or like the next Christopher Nolan film or something like that. That's not what we're talking about from entertaining. It just, is it something that like, cause there are videos that are the simplest thing. Somebody's on a cell phone, but like I'm engaged because the story is interesting, the way that they're interacting, the way that they talk, the stuff that they're showing. Again, like those videos where somebody's got a hydraulic press and they just crush random things.
Oh, I watch that so much, so much.
But there's value in that for the person to enjoy and consume, because it's something that's interesting. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to necessarily grow your business doing that per se. Now, maybe it will. Back in the day, there was Will It Blend? And I know that sold a lot of blenders from that. So like sometimes that type of content can still grow a brand through it. But now those videos were 5-6 minutes long. Now they would be a short. They would, and so it's funny to see what people had the patience for back then and what they would have for now.
One thing is it the same value to each audience, or do you find that there are like you can target that value depending on who you are trying to reach?
Yeah, that's a good point. And because NextWaveDV started off as a channel for filmmakers, and then we evolved it into, obviously we have a business, we're trying to grow the business, we're trying to use content marketing to grow our business. And then we're also trying to learn from that to then help our customers use content marketing to grow their business. So we can't just be like, here, we're going to only create content for our peers, maybe our competition, whatever you want to call it. We can't only create that type of content because that's not a thing that would model well, unless we're trying to sell stuff to them. All right, we got a big audience now. We can do affiliate marketing. We can do courses, exactly, which we do, and we've done that, and those have done fine. But we want to be bringing in an audience that would also buy our products and services as well, and that's also something that we need to model and recreate for our customers. So that said, as we've grown our audience, we didn't want to completely get rid of the previous audience and pivot away from that. But we did need to change our messaging and our content to be appealing to our target demographic that would be interested in buying our services. So yes, you do need to be aware of, like, if I'm trying to use this to grow my business, who is my target demographic? Who are the people that are going to be buying products and services from me? And then based on that, this is our target audience discovery process that we talked about. In the Video Pathfinder webinar, which you can check out at videopathfinder.com, that's a full 38-minute video that's great. I highly recommend watching that. We put together a really good intro to how to use social media to grow my business. So free to download. That's free for you. But that target audience, it's the first step that you go through, and we sit down and go through with our clients, because we need to then figure out, who is this person, where are they, what platforms are they on, and then what type of content do they want to consume. Because if we're making twerking videos on TikTok and our target demographic is a 55-year-old man, it's not going to be the right type of content for him to be interested in buying a product from you. And so that's in and of itself the first step that you do. You know, any type of contact, you know, we say all the time that, you know, you could, if you want to get 10,000 followers on TikTok, give away an iPad, but you're just going to end up with 10,000 people that are interested in a free iPad.
Yeah.
Not necessarily in the products and services that you offer.
Correct.
So the content and the messaging and the type of messaging does matter if you're trying to grow your business through that.
We had an example recently where we have a client that is not a developer, but a publisher of virtual reality games, and we have several of them at our arcade. And we found, you know, if we're trying to market our arcade, we're usually trying to create content that the parents are going to enjoy, predominantly like the moms are going to enjoy. So we're not doing a ton of fart jokes in our virtual, which the kids probably would love even more so. But that's not who we're trying to attract, because we need to be speaking to the moms and the dads that are trying to figure out what to do after school. What are we going to do on, it's a rainy Saturday? What do we do?
The decision makers.
The decision makers. Yeah. So that's who we're going to. So we had a client, and they were like, "All right, it's a virtual reality game where you're flinging poop and you're a monkey and flinging poop." So we started making content, and it just wasn't performing. And we had strategy, we were coming up with these ideas, but we just couldn't quite get there. And so we said, well, what would a 13-year-old kid like? And we made a video for what we thought a 13-year-old would appreciate, would find funny. As of the last viewing 2 days ago, it was at over 15,000 views and growing. Every time we went in, it was just cranking up more, because we were specific with the strategy and how we were going to address that person. So had we gone and tried to do that same video for our arcade, I'm sure we would have gotten hate mail from, I'm never bringing my children there. Yeah. But when it comes to pivoting to the product, so same genre, same industry, we're still talking about virtual reality games. But because we were intentional, because we were able to create that strategy for each individual product, it made a huge difference in how we're able to interact.
And I've told the story before, but like when we started our esports side of the business, so we have the Edge VR Arcade, and then we added Edge Gamers Lounge. We realized very quickly that we needed to have a separate social media for that side of the business, because to your point, the VR Arcade is family entertainment, and so target is mainly moms and dads that are looking to bring their kids somewhere fun. Yeah. But with the esports, our target demographic is the late teen, early 20s to 30-year-old that gamer. And so what they want is
very different.
Yes. And so we did need to separate that out. We need to separate the messaging because it's a different target demographic.
Yeah.
And so for your business, like you may have multiple products that you sell. Are they to the same demographic, or do you have differing demographics? And then are you trying to do the same message to both of them, or are you trying to do different message? Are you open to the different messages that need to be done for each of them individually? Yeah. And so that, for today's episode, I think that's be the last point that we're going to do is being purposeful with the audience that you're going after, and making sure that you are recognizing the platform habits, the audience habits, all those types of things based upon the message and the demographic that you're going after. Right. Because if you're trying to talk to everybody, you'll end up talking to
no one.
And we all know that, but it is super important, because I still have these conversations with businesses all the time where, hey, we need to incorporate this this demographic. We need to have more variety in our casting. We need to have say that tell them we do all these different things. Make sure you follow us on Facebook, and like I said, we're going to tell them every possible thing. Yeah. And you water down your message so much that it then becomes not salient anymore, and then nobody pays attention to it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, the goal is coming up with a strategy that is speaking to your audience, and then take our bonus super secret tip of 2024. Execute, move on it, go on it. We found even ourselves falling into the trap of, we have to get it so perfect. And we would do revisions, and we'd be like, all right, no, this doesn't quite hit. And really what we were missing was those days, those hours, those weeks that were going by. the audience was going to our competition or going to our client's competition. And so when we said, you know what, we're going to come up with a strategy, and then we're just going to start delivering on it. It's not going to be perfect right away, and that's okay. But having something out there, having intention with what we were doing, we ended up seeing incredible results. And our clients were seeing results coming in immediately. We're still able to tweak the strategy. We're able to see what works and pivot and move and what's working. But moving forward, just going on it is going to be better than just sitting and waiting. I used to sell phones. I was one of those annoying cell phone guys in the mall. And the objection we would get all the time was, "Oh, I don't want a 2-year contract." And especially now, I mean, that's become so commonplace now. But the idea that I would try and get in their heads was, well, do you see yourself having a phone in 2 years? Well, of course, yeah. Then what does it matter? So the same thing. Do you see yourself doing video marketing or digital marketing in 2 years, 5 years? Well, yeah, of course. It's only going to grow. So start now. Because if you wait until those 2 years and you're like, oh, well, now I finally kind of have a foot of where I'm going to be, you're going to be too late. And your competition has probably already started or is going to be starting. So start now and just start making those moves.
Yeah, we use the analogy of exercise all the time when it comes to that. Like, you wouldn't say, well, I'm not going to work out now because I won't see results for a really long time.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's a horrible reason not to be healthy. For me, like I over around Christmas break, I was like, I'm gonna, every time I go to the bathroom, I'm gonna do 20 push-ups.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to see that transition. I'm feeling the difference. We've been doing a big project for a college where we've been going to all these businesses that are donors to the college. And we've been featuring them for recruitment for students that might be interested in working at one of those businesses. So we've been doing a ton of these businesses.
Yeah.
And to increase our workflow and speed, I ended up getting the Tilt-A-Float, which is a stabilizer arm and vest for the DJI Ronin RS3 Pro is the one I have with my Komodo X. And I'm going to do a whole video on that setup. But
watch that video. It's amazing.
It's pre-working out Tony. Sure. I would not be like the Tilta. I think sometimes makes stuff and forgets that there are people of other sizes. So I would not, and even just the weight of the thing on me, I know I would not have been able to handle it.
Sure.
But like I happened to have been working out, and then when it was time for me to get that, I'm like, oh, I can handle this. And so there's that benefit. But that day in and day out of the work,
doing the work,
eventually built up so that I could do that. And it's the same thing with your marketing. You gotta be consistent. When will it happen? I don't know.
Right.
There isn't like a magical tick over time. But if you don't do it, I guarantee you that nothing will happen.
Correct.
And if you do something, do it. Something will happen.
Right.
However big it will be, but through that process, then you can refine it and get better and be more consistent with it. So I think this was a good one. This was a great episode. Yeah. And definitely be sure to focus on how can you improve your execution? How can you get better at that? Look at company. Look at like Mr. Beast. He spends thousands of dollars on thumbnails.
Right.
And when's the last time that you put more than 2 seconds thought into your thumbnail? Did you even put a thumbnail on your video? Did you just let the default YouTube middle of the video go up there?
Right.
Focus on that execution. Make sure that you are being purposeful about every step of it.
Intentional,
You're going to see results happen.